Confessions of an Expat. I get asked all the time, what's my story? Why Brazil? Well, the answer is always the same. Brazil chose me, as is all the countries that I've lived in. I first left the States at the age of 20, where I did a study abroad program in the south of France, in Toulouse. I fell in love with the concept of living abroad, of entering a different culture, speaking a different language. And so after my year was done, I said, well, I want the opposite of that experience. India seemed logical to me. So I got all my things together and I moved to the Himalayas for a 1-month intensive language Hindi program. It went okay. After about a month, I moved down to the north of New Delhi, where I enrolled in New Delhi University, auditing classes. I'd already finished college or university, and I wasn't really ready to go out into the real world. I needed some structure. But after a couple months, I realized I was ready, and I left the university and I started traveling all around India, realizing, okay, 6 months in India is all right. I'd like to move to Thailand now. I was insatiable. The path ended up changing. Thailand just became the focal point, but not the actual destination of the journey. And actually ended up staying in Delhi for 1 more year, volunteering with a non-governmental organization called Butterflies. I worked with street children. It was a wonderful experience, but at the end of that, I was antsy and I needed to move again. This time I needed to go back to my own language. I needed a country that spoke English. So I chose London on the map. Got all my things together, went via Russia for a little vacation. At the time, those tickets were the cheapest. I said, why not? And I ended up in London. I thought, this should be easy. They speak my language. Took quite a few months, knocking on a lot of doors, but always on beautiful streets that I could imagine myself working on. Didn't matter what I was doing. I had little marketable skills at the time. I just said, I want to work in the corporate world in London. So I got a job at a design firm in Soho. Allowed me to wear the corporate uniform that I had envisioned. And I spent 2.5 years in business development, which meant I drank a lot with clients, and I essentially did a lot of cold calling to churn up business. But after that time, I realized I wasn't cut out for the corporate world. I couldn't see myself in an office 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 every day. So I left London and decided to move to South America, to Argentina, to really learn Spanish. So once again, it was my destination, but the journey did not lead me there. I spent 1 year and I went around the world, taking classes and meeting up with friends that I had met on the road. And I wanted to create more memories with them because I had a fear that they would become only a part of my past and not a part of my present. This is a continued thread throughout my entire 15 years of travel. I always try to go back and make more memories with people that are important to me. Otherwise, they do just become a thing of your past. So the last stop on that trip was San Francisco to visit all of my college friends. Well, I fell in love with San Francisco. I never thought I wanted to live in the States again. That was at the end of the Bush administration. But San Francisco was intriguing to me. So I got an apartment with a great view and an old Art Deco building. And I got a job as the assistant to the mayor of San Francisco, as well as writing speeches for the ambassador of Egypt. Sounds great on paper, but in actuality, I didn't even have health insurance. I was paid extremely poorly. I was overworked. After about 1.5 years, I realized that I needed to work for someone that I truly believed in. So I ended up bartending at a dive whiskey bar. To this day, I always say it's one of the best jobs I ever had. Spent many years at that whiskey bar, 4 whiskey bars to be exact, because I could work for a couple months and I could travel. So I spent quite a few years traveling the entire world. I picked up a couple languages on the way. I did a couple of programs. And the last stop on that couple-year adventure ended up being in South America. I gave myself 6 months in South America to really work on that Spanish, something I had tried for 10 years to achieve. And while I was in South America, I said, well, I'm going to check that life ticks box. And I'm going to say, I've been to Brazil, done. Well, I entered the country, I stepped off that plane, and I was never the same. It wasn't one person I met, it wasn't one party I went to. It was how I felt when I was here. So I left Brazil, I went on to the Galapagos, into Machu Picchu, and none of it was Brazil to me. So like, okay, go back to your country for 6 months. And if you're still feeling this urge, come back, start a business. So after 6 months and one day, I bought my ticket and I came back. That was several years ago. And life abroad has its ups and downs. It's the 4th time I've started over in a new country with a new language, making new friends, learning all new sets of rules. And each time gets deeper. Each time is more joyful and more painful because you try to achieve something deeper. But it's extremely rewarding, and it's my life. I realized at this point, what I thought when I was 20 years old, I was running away from something. Is no, this is just what I do. I travel, and I live in different cultures. I'm still me no matter where I go. It's just my